Greetings from my office, also known as my bed. I'm trying to do a little work today, writing a chapter, and also simultaneously watching the trial or the sentencing for the trial where James and Jennifer Crumbley were convicted of involuntary manslaughter. So if you have not been following that case, you must be living under a rock or just really detest the lawyer, Shannon Smith, who's Jennifer Crumbley's lawyer. And it's so annoying. I feel like I'm watching like a new version of the movie Clueless or something. It's crazy how I'm married to a criminal attorney, defense attorney. I love him. I think he's wonderful. I think what he does is so important. But attorneys that end up on television that represent these people that are so crappy, they give all defense attorneys a bad name, right? Because they're terrible. It could be the Crumbley's attorney. It could be the attorney for Brian Laundrie's parents. I mean, the attorneys like make you want to do something with somebody's teeth. Now, I would liken it to if there's a weather event in North Carolina. So there's a weather event in North Carolina, and the news shows up in North Carolina. Who does the news talk to? The news basically goes to Walmart and tries to talk to somebody who's got their hair tied up in a plastic bag, and maybe they have one slipper on. It's like you're like, well, people from North Carolina are ridiculous. That's how it is with these criminal attorneys. Ethan Crumbley was 15 when he took the lives of Tate, Madison, Hannah, and Juliana. And the parents, it's the first time parents have been charged in a case like this. And it's really interesting to me that Jennifer Crumbley's attorney, the annoying one, is like, well, it's not gonna, what'd she say? She said, she has suffered significantly, which is interesting. I guess it's all relative, right? And putting her in prison does nothing to protect society. And then she went on to say, it also will not deter others in the community from committing an offense like this, which I would strongly argue against. Yes, the sentencing is today. I've been writing and listening to it, and now they're on a break, and they're about to read the victim impact statements, which I hope they will really be listening, and maybe that will get that attorney to just shut her trap, because all that yapping at, her poor client gets old, particularly for the children who were killed that day. And I think it does do something. I will say for me, like, I have a senior in high school and we're going to have a graduation party. And, there is no way I would serve alcohol to seniors in high school. Now, you might say, well, it's against the law, blah, blah, blah. Or let's say he's a freshman. He comes home from college. Will I give alcohol to underage children? No. My parents had a party for me like that. And, the difference to me is that I know if somebody comes over here and drinks and drives, not only could they hurt themselves, but I could go to jail. So I argue that it does deter people. People are thinking, if I buy my 15-year-old a Sig Sauer on Black Friday and I put up a social media post, this is his mother, and on Facebook and say, look what we got our son for Christmas. And then I go on to not lock the gun up, but to hide it in an armoire and put the bullets under my jeans. Parents all over the universe are being taught this is not okay. You can't buy your child a handgun. You have to lock up your gun. If you do not, there will be consequences. That's what it says to me. And I have 3 teenagers. It screams, You are your child's keeper. And these parents, it's not, I always say, not that I'm some like, amazing parent, but I'm really doing the best I can. And if something happens with my children, I think this morning an 18-year-old was arrested for like plotting an ISIS something. Ain't nobody plotting any ISIS plot over here, right? And if they did, I would be the first to be like, I don't know what the devil's wrong with them because it ain't me. And let me tell you what I did. I didn't buy a handgun. I didn't have children come to me and say, I need to go to the doctor. And the dad gave him a couple pills and said, suck it up. And when he told his mother he needed to go to the doctor, do you know what she did? She laughed. Ha, ha, ha. It's not funny. But let's just get back to the parents. So the son is charged with 4 counts of murder. Do they go out and get him an attorney? No. They give him the public defender. And they hire attorneys for themselves after they run away and hide and withdraw money from the bank because they say that's what someone told them to do. So they didn't get their son an attorney. They got themselves an attorney. Sort of exactly what you would expect, right? And then when they went on trial, they requested that the son speak on their behalf. I guess they wanted him to get up there and be like, it was me alone that did this. I'm sorry. Don't blame my parents. But do you know what he said when they asked him? No, I'm not talking for them. Because he's sitting there in jail for life at 15, which that's another conversation. But he's not going to speak up for his parents because he does blame them. So if you go back to the day that it happened, Dad took their son to school, 7:30 in the morning. He goes to the horse barn to meet the veterinarian. These people really like horses a lot. And I mean, I think horses are nice, but I spend my whole life at a horse barn. I mean, I got crap to do. The mother texted the husband at 9:30, and she texted a sheet, his math sheet, and she wrote emergency. On the math sheet, it was drawings that he had done that morning, and he had written things like, the thoughts won't stop, help me, blood everywhere, right? This is at 9:30. At 10:38, the parents walk into the school for a meeting. The meeting lasts 12 minutes. At the meeting, the school said he needs help. We want him to get mental health help immediately. We would like you to take him home. And the parents were like, yeah, no, we're good. Okay, we're good. So the parents leave. At 10:50, they walk out the door. At 11 a.m., do you know what the dad was doing? He had signed in as a DoorDash driver. And listen, I'm glad that he's working. That's great. But if you said to me, I couldn't bring him home from school because I was in surgery. Or what if I said right now, I'm working, sitting in this bed, writing, watching a trial, and said, well, I couldn't have him come home because, I was working. Will you be like, you were writing and doing videos from your bed. I think you could have gotten it under control. Why would the school let him stay? Why did the school not check his backpack? All the things. Yes. Could the school have done better? Absolutely. But let's go with this. The school didn't know that his parents had bought him a gun 4 days before. That's a pretty big thing. So if you're called to school in an emergency meeting, which I've never had that happen. I will say one time I got called to school it's been a long time. Let's see how many years, 7 years ago. And I had one of my little people was very upset, and it ended up, it was over end of grade testing, which is a real cluster in North Carolina. And the principal said to me, is anything going on at home? And I was like, what are you talking about? So I see how people could be defensive, but it was, what's going on at home? And I was like, no, but let's get him some help. I called up a psychologist. He was in an appointment by the next day just to help the child work out some feelings. This is what parents do, right? They don't leave the meeting and just head on back to work. Now, at 1:09 p.m. that day, the school sent out an alert about a shooting. So the dad, who's been door dashing, he drives home. He's home at 1:17 p.m. And do you know what he does at 1:17 p.m.? Well, he called his son at 1:13 p.m. Called him at 1:13 p.m. He no answer. So he drops home at 1:17 p.m. and he calls his wife. His wife texts her boss at 1:20 p.m. and she texts, gun is gone and so are bullets. At 1:34, the dad calls 911. So let's imagine right now you're sitting at home and you get a and you see it on your phone, shooting in process at, it could be my kid's middle school or my kid's high school. The first thing I'm going to do is call my children, which is what he did. The second thing I'm going to do is to drive to the school, right? I'm going to drive to the school and I'm going to try to figure out what in the world is happening. I would never, ever, ever drive home to see if it was my gun that had been used. When he drove home looking to see if that was the gun, he admitted, I had an inkling, right? Because if he had gone to school and been like, I didn't know, it wouldn't have occurred to me. I was sitting there in the parking lot with all the other parents worried about my child. No. He skedaddle on home and he's looking for the gun and the bullets, which were in his backpack at school. And the parents might have said then, you know what? We did buy him a gun a few days ago. Ethan, what's in your backpack? Didn't tell school officials their son not only had access to a gun, but their son had been on Instagram. And I saw this myself before it was taken down, right after this happened. He has the gun on Instagram and he's threatening to use it. All his parents had to do was check on his social media. When he texted his mom that he saw a demon in the house, she did nothing. He said, I have zero help for my mental problems. So for the jury, the storage of the gun was a big thing. Just think if all parents are charged for their children's mistakes. Diana, I don't think this is that. No other parent has been charged for a school shooting because no other parent has been so responsible for the shooting, right? They bought the child a gun. They did not lock the gun up. That is what the jury said. The storage of the gun was a really, really big issue. It also doesn't help that James Crumbley lost access to his phone because he continued to threaten the prosecutor, who he gave the finger to during the trial, and called himself a martyr. A martyr. He said about the prosecution on the phone, there will be retribution. Again, Ethan said, I actually asked my dad to take me to the doctor yesterday, but he just gave me some pills and told me to suck it up. When I told my mom I needed to go to the doctor, she laughed at me. Is that an accident or is that reckless negligence? Right? So I don't think this applies to regular people. I think this applies to parents who you really, another mother was charged not too far from me in Virginia Beach because her 6-year-old took a gun to school and shot the teacher. And the mother was charged with negligence of why did the 6-year-old have access to a weapon? You know, we got to have these hard conversations. And, you know, if it's not guns, it's going to be alcohol. And so it's all fun and games. You give your kids a bunch of alcohol and then they're all driving around. And then when your butt's sitting in prison because they killed someone, don't come crying to me. You know, you are a parent. I mean, your job is parent. Do you realize how many parents are this irresponsible? I would say probably right many. I would say right many are. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, they're about to do the victim impact statements in a minute, and I'm going to sit here and listen to them and think of those parents of Tate and Madison and Anna and Juliana and say a prayer of thanksgiving for my own 3 teenagers. And I hope that Jennifer and James Crumbly sit there a minute and marinate in what it is to really have a real loss that you're not responsible for. Their parents did everything they should have done. They sent their kids to school, and the Crumbleys could have prevented it 12 different ways, and they chose not to. They chose not to. They made a choice not to help a child who was asking for help. So anyway, carry on.